Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. So for this one we're going to go back to To Øl in Copenhagen in Denmark. So these guys are obviously one of the two very famous gypsy craft breweries who come from the city, the other one being Mikkeller, and of course To Øl just means two beers in Danish. But today we're going to have a taste of the Dangerously Close but No Cigar, which is a double IPA that they add Cedar Wood Chips to at the end of the brew, and it's meant to be a really nice one. And the double IPA is a style that To Øl do very well in my opinion, so I'm quite interested to actually to try this one and see what it's all about. But as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a very short history of the brewery, just give you a few facts because I've done a number of these reviews for you already. Check out the link to them in the video description if you are interested. The brewery website's in the video description, and as always, if you are simply interested in the tasting of this beer, feel free to fast forward into the video a few minutes and you will go straight there. So anyway, To Øl was founded by Tobias Emil Jensen and Tore Gainter, who were students of Mikkel Bjergso, who obviously went on to found the Mikkeller Brewery and is now the big boss. But originally they brewed with him in their school kitchens back in about 2005, and they continued to homebrew until 2010 when they actually formally founded To Øl. And To Øl, as I mentioned to you in Danish, just means two beers. But when Mikkel Bjergso learned that his former students were still brewing, he insisted that they made a collaboration brew together, and this became the very first commercial To Øl beer, known as the double IPA or IIPA, however you want to describe it. But despite their short existence so far, they've gained much acclaim in craft beer circles, and they distribute these days to over 30 different countries. But as is the case with Mikkeller, they're a gypsy brewery, and so they don't own their own equipment, and they use the spare capacity at other large breweries. And the main one is actually the De Proef Brewery at Locriste Heifte in Belgium, which is also where Mikkeller brew a lot of their things. But their home base as such is the Mikkeller and Friends bar in Noribro in Copenhagen, and this is a collaborative bar with Mikkeller actually, and the bar apparently has an exclusive bottle shop and over 40 different tap beers at any one time, so well worth checking out if you do happen to find yourself in Copenhagen in Denmark, and hopefully I can get over there and have a little look at it at some point as well. But apparently this guy is a 9% double IPA. As I mentioned to you, they add Cedar Wood Chips at the end of the brew. The commercial description of this one is, it says, "We present an Imperial Cedar India Pale Ale with a smack load of fresh hops, a nice smooth and crisp body, and a handful of cedar chips to give a nice woody finish to the beer." And I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a quick look at the artwork on this one. As you can see, it's got a Jesus cross on it in front of the sun there. Actually, it's quite nicely done. I do like the To Øl labels, and for some reason it's got palm trees at the top there. I'm not sure if this is kind of meant to signify people going to hell or something like that, but it's quite an interesting artwork on the bottle. Anyway, I couldn't find out too much about the motivation behind them naming the beer as such, if you like, but we'll get on with the tasting anyway. That's the most important thing. So a 9% double IPA that they add Cedar Wood Chips to at the end of the brew. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening, as is always with To Øl, just a plain bottle cap, but we'll get this guy out and get it tasted. Now, as I don't know if I mentioned to you at the start actually, this is a beer that I picked up from Thistle News in Aberdeen, which is a really nice family run news agents. They've got a nice selection of Danish beer and some really random American stuff. They're getting a lot of American stuff in these days, and the link to their Facebook page is in the video description for you below. So if you're one of my Scottish viewers from the Aberdeen area, then please check them out. A really nice little beer shop there, so check those guys out, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed with what you find there. Actually, just check that's back in line with the camera, but there we are. So as you can see, it's poured a really nice kind of bright orangey amber colour. It's really quite hazy actually, it's very opaque, and as you can see there's a nice two-finger frothy white head on there. Really attractive looking beer, and some nice little bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the head there, but very attractive looking beer. And you always get this with the To Øl double IPAs. They've got a hell of a lot of head on them, which is always really nice. So let's give this guy a shuggle and just see how we get on with it. But you can really smell the sort of cedar hops in this one, or the cedar wood chips actually. It gives you a very distinctive woody aroma, and that's the main prominent thing in this beer. It actually reminds me a lot of when you go to the garden centre or the garden area. It has that kind of fresh composty smell to it, the nice wood chips actually, really cool. So it has that nice kind of woody aroma to it. It's really quite interesting. It's got a little bit of a kind of vegetal character to it as well actually, but it's got a nice kind of citrus and fruity aroma there. If you kind of sugar it up a little bit, you get more of the kind of caramel malts and the resiny character coming out actually. But there's a lot, it does have this really, the cedar wood does have this really kind of unusual grassy and vegetable kind of composty aroma to it actually. As I say, it reminds me a lot of the kind of gardeny aroma, the sort of garden centre aromas. There's a little bit of pepper in there too, you can just pick that up. Maybe it's just the characteristics of the wood, but this cedar wood is definitely present with that really unusual kind of spicy, vegetal and very, very fresh aroma. But really interesting actually. Just take a little while and smell this beer if you do happen to buy one of them. Really interesting. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on. So the taste really, the first impression that I get is that the taste really fits the aroma quite well. It does have that really big kind of vegetable sort of woody flavour to it. It's this. I've never tasted anything like this. It's very unusual. So you've got a nice little bit of kind of citricy fruit in there a little bit, and then it moves more into the malt flavours. The malt flavours, it's almost as if they're quite muffled. This kind of vegetable and woody flavour actually kind of overpowers the beer quite a lot. You pick up the caramel more towards the sort of front of the mouth actually. It kind of comes in just a little bit on the front of the tongue, more towards the aftertaste, and the sort of cedar kind of woody flavour is staying towards the edges around the back, right on the sides of the palate. But it's got a nice bitterness to it, but it's not quite as punchy as some of the other Tool ones I've had before. There's definitely a nice blend of kind of bready and kind of spicy yeast in there too. It blends very, very well, but the most sort of prominent component in this beer definitely is that kind of cedar woody character, and you just get the sort of more malt based, the kind of bready, yeasty and sweet caramel flavours coming out on the sort of front of the tongue there. The bready flavours come out a little bit more towards the back of the tongue, but the malt bases come out really towards the end of the beer, and then just round the edge you've got this nice kind of really unusual sort of feel from the wood. As I say, you've got this kind of vegetable flavour to it, and I don't know if you can say it tastes like a garden centre, but it tastes like these kind of coniferous, or it smells, it sort of tastes as you would imagine the smell of these sort of coniferous trees and stuff like that. It's very unique, that's all you can really say about it. But yeah, I would stick by my statement before. The caramel, bready and spicy yeast, the caramel's coming out sweetly on the front of the tongue, and the bready yeast is coming out just a little bit more towards the back. You do perhaps have a little bit of a kind of grassy character to this one, an aromatic one. That's probably what's helping bring out the kind of woody spice in this. That I would say that does blend together quite well. The impression you get is that this kind of aromatic and vegetable flavour with the wood blends together really, really well and kind of overpowers a lot of the other components of the beer. So it's overall, the taste of this one, it's very, very unique and very, very interesting. The mouthfeel of this one, it's definitely quite, I'd say it's mid-bodied rather than full-bodied actually. It's not quite as oily as some of the double IPAs I've had from this one before, although it does have a little bit of that character. Carbonation is extremely soft on this one, almost non-existent actually. I would maybe go as far as saying that. It just has a very, very soft carbonation, just goes right in towards the middle of the tongue as you take it in. It's quite dry in the finish, but it's got a good nice little bit of bitter character, and that actually really aids the nice kind of cedar and vegetable spicy flavours that are going around the edge of the tongue. It's done very well. I mean, overall I would say this beer, it's a really nice double IPA that has a hell of a lot of unique character about it. I've never ever tasted a beer that tastes quite like this one, so it definitely is worth trying if you can still pick this up. It was only brewed once, so I'm really not sure how likely you are to find this, but it's a very, very interesting beer. And I mean, the date that this one goes out is the 16th of September 2015, so I dare say maybe in Australia and a bit further afield than Britain and Europe and stuff like that, you might have a chance of still finding this one. So pick it up and give it a try if you like. It's a very, very unique double IPA. And it doesn't. Some of the characteristics that you would expect from a Tool double IPA aren't quite there, but it's the woody character in this one with the vegetable flavour that goes on in there is very overpowering. So be prepared for that if you try this beer. But overall, very unique, and in my opinion, definitely worth trying if you get the chance. So I hope you've enjoyed this beer review, and as always, I hope you've found it informative as well. Let me know in the comments section if you do happen to have tried this guy yourself. Always interesting to hear your thoughts on all the beers that I'm reviewing, and I hope that I'm not sitting up here and talking rubbish. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews. As always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I will catch you soon with another one, and thanks again for watching. Cheers.